Well, thank you everybody for coming out today. What we're going to do is talk about today's session, which is tell me about your weaknesses, and we're going to go over some sample answers and how to answer that. My name is Tiffany. I'm a counselor with Paige based out of the Philadelphia region. And to actually start us off there, let's talk about a little bit about what PAVE is. PAVE is the employment program for PVA, and we help veterans, transitioning service members, their families, and caregivers with a focus on those with barriers to employment. And we offer high-touch and one-on-one support to find employment, education, and volunteer opportunities. The PAVE is spread out across the country, where we see a location on there is where one of our offices are. We have counselors and employment analysts ready to help, and our headquarters is based out of Washington, D.C. And I just want to note that while we only have offices where it shows you on the map here, we do cover all the states in the U.S., so wherever you are, there's a counselor or an employment analyst ready to help. Now that we know a little bit about what PAVE is, let me go a little bit into Paige Connect. Paige Connect is a new employment support service that we provide that allows you to interact with PAVE staff and other experts through virtual meetings we're doing right now. It allows you to access timely and relevant career information on your schedule and from any device. So no matter where you are, as long as you have a device and internet to access, you can join us in our meetings. That way you don't have to put in transportation and all the other things that go into trying to attend an event. It's ready for you wherever you are. And we try to offer meaningful education, volunteer, and employment opportunities, as well as an opportunity to meet with employers who are interested in hiring from the military and veteran communities. In addition to employment services, PVA has a variety of programs and services that can help you with whatever you're looking for. So we have medical services, architectural services, we have national service officers to help with claims and benefits, we have education and research departments, and we offer legal services as well. If you're interested in learning more about any of these programs, you can go to pva.org just to learn about PVA or our programs. Or if you're already connected with a counselor or employment analyst, you can just ask one of us and we'll help you find the information you need. Now let's get into the actual presentation. Like I said, this is about that question, tell me about your weaknesses. Most employers continue to ask, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Well, it's easy to identify some strengths, or at least identify strengths that are important to an employer. It can feel like a trap to tell them what your biggest weakness is. So why would an employer ask this question in the first place? Well, there are a few reasons, and I have them listed here. An employer might be asking this to see your level of self-awareness or honesty, to see your ability to improve on something that may have been a weakness for you in the past, to see your ability to answer a difficult question, to see your critical thinking skills. So before we go into how to answer this question, let's start with what not to say. So you don't want to disguise a strength as a weakness. I know a lot of people have been told this in the past, that you want to share some kind of positive attribute and then pass it off as a weakness. But this kind of response lacks self-awareness and may come across as a bit artificial. So the examples I give here are saying that your biggest weakness. Huh? What was that? Is there a question or? Okay. As I was saying, you don't want to say that your biggest weakness is that you're a perfectionist, that you work too hard, that you're too passionate. Like I said, these can sound a little artificial, and it may show an employer that you don't actually know what your weaknesses are. And so that's one that you try to avoid answering it that way. You don't want to list a weakness that is a required skill for the position. So an example of that would be if the job description says that you have to have a certain typing speed, that you have to have a certain computer skill level, you don't want to say that your biggest weakness is being able to use the computer or computer skills, which that also might be, is this a job for you to apply for, which is a completely different topic, but you just don't want to list something that's a requirement for the job as one of your weaknesses, because you're definitely not going to get past the interview if you do something like that. You also don't want to list something that we would call an unacceptable weakness. You don't want to say that you have issues with tardiness, you have an inability to multitask altogether, or that you can't get along with others, you don't get along with customers, because no matter what job you apply for, an employer is going to be looking for these skills, and they want to know, they don't want to know that you can't do these basic skills. So just try to leave those out. And then lastly, you don't want to say that you don't have any weaknesses or that your biggest weakness is identifying weaknesses. Again, this just lacks insight. It looks like you're trying to get out of the question. Even if that's an honest answer, that's not how it's going to be interpreted. So just be careful with those. So now that we've gone over what you definitely don't want to say, what should you say? So what you want to do when asked this question is turn an actual weakness into a demonstration of growth. You want to explain a weakness that you have or have had in the past and how you have worked on it to improve, and then show that you can make improvements. So now we're going to go into the examples. Example 1, one of my biggest weaknesses is that I used to focus too much on the details of a project, but I've learned to prioritize what must be done first and go back to fill in the details when time allows so that I can continue to meet my deadline. So why would this be a good answer? This shows self-awareness, honesty, and a potential for growth. It also shows that the applicant can and does currently meet deadlines, and it shows that quality matters to you. So while it shows a true weakness, you also kind of get some strengths in there and show that may be a weakness, but it's because these things are important to you. So it shows the real insight and honesty. Example 2, one of my biggest weaknesses is that I have trouble saying no to helping a coworker or taking on a new project. But I have learned which tasks can be delegated to other workers so that I can focus more of my attention toward my primary goals. I make sure to keep my calendar up to date so I know what projects I am already working on and how much of my time is needed for each one. So why is this a good answer? This shows that you're a team player, but you also understand when to delegate tasks, and it gives an example of how you have actually made those changes to improve on this weakness of yours. And then our last example, I could use more experience with the advanced functions of Excel. I understand how to use all of the basic features and can use Excel proficiently, but I would like to take more classes to advance my skill set. So why this would be a good answer is it shows that you're working on improving yourself and your skills, and you're aware of where you can grow and improve. While it shows you can still do what might be asked of you on Excel, that you know you could use some more improvement there and that you're working on it. And so now that we have gone over a couple examples, I want to turn it over to you guys and ask you, how would you answer this question? If anybody has any examples, go ahead.
Hi, Tiffany. Rodney, I know that one of my weaknesses is trying to shut it down when I need to shut it down. That work and that life balance. So you want me to basically respond to my weakness on this question?
Yeah, like how would you answer that so that it shows self-awareness, ability to improve, all the things we kind of talked about.
Okay. Well, I know my weakness is that the fact that I'm passionate about helping people. So I tend to, go a little later, trying to assist other clients. And it tends to affect my work-life balance. And I'm working to improve it and to shut it down at a certain time. But I have found that to be a weakness for me that I'm working to improve.
Okay. Yeah, and I like that you're saying, you get very invested and you find that you work too much, but instead of just saying I'm too passionate, you gave actual examples and what that looks like. And so I think that was a really good answer.
Well, thank you.
Anybody else? And even if you don't have an example right now, if you have any questions, any concerns. I actually can't see the chat. I can try to check in there. Is anybody responding in the chat feature?
No, there's no one in chat.
No. Okay. So if you're more comfortable doing that with a question, you can always type it in there as well. No questions? Nothing? Comments?
I have another question, Tiffany.
Okay.
So are you saying that I should never, basically present a weakness that can be a hindrance to the position, like time management? If I have an issue with time management and the job requires time management, I should think of another weakness, correct?
Yes, I would say if that's required in the job, or maybe reword it. So actually, let me go back. So like the second example here is kind of like that they want to help with all the projects, but they realize that by doing that, they can't do the jobs that are actually required of them. So if you word it in a way of, and just saying time management and here's how, just saying that, why is it the time management? If time management is an issue because you're talking to your coworkers or you're doing things that you're not supposed to be doing, then definitely don't mention that. But if it's because you get too excited about projects and you have to learn, you had to learn how to make a calendar to achieve all of that, there's just a way to word it so that it doesn't sound like that. But if there's a requirement for customer service skills, you have to be able to work well with customers and have a positive attitude, and you say that your weakness is that you can't get along with people, that's going to be a definite problem. I think it's just how you word it, and definitely paying attention to the job description to make sure you don't say a weakness that they definitely don't want to hear, if that makes sense.
Right. I think your second example hits more home with me. I tend to not have the ability to say no.
Yeah.
So I take on a lot, which requires more time, and there's just not enough hours in the day. So.
Right. Or you're taking those hours away from other aspects.
Right. Trying to basically put more on my plate than I can handle.
Mhm.
But thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes. Anybody else have an example or a question? So I want to keep it, if nobody has questions, examples, but I don't want to rush through if anybody is just kind of holding out or thinking of a question. But if there are none, I'll just go to the next slide. If you think of any, just stop me. So I just want to give you some reminders here about our Paige Connect. So just remember that this is a resource for you. We record these presentations so they're available at your convenience, and you can access them at pva.org/PAVE. We have a library filled with a variety of career information topics, from civilian resumes, federal resumes, cover letters, hiring events, interviewing questions like we did today. There's a variety of different topics, and you can go to pva.org/PAVE to access ones that we've already done or to sign up for ones that we're going to be doing. We have presentations regularly added, so just check in on our website and make sure that you sign up for those. And thank you for attending. Again, my name is Tiffany. I'm a counselor with PAVE based out of Philadelphia. My contact information is on there if you have any other questions afterwards. And then just last chance, any questions, any examples anybody wants to give?